Good
Hello.
evening. And
Hello,
welcome.
everybody. Yes, welcome.
Boy, it's good to be here.
Yes, it is.
It
Right,
cannot wait.
without further ado then, tonight's guest is ufologist, demonologist and paranormal investigator. She sits on the board of MUFON and has been a demonologist since 1975, and her paranormal investigations include UFOs, angels, Bigfoot and ghosts. She's the author of the book Alien Healing, The True Story of a Benevolent Extraterrestrial. Please give a warm 12th dimension welcome to Teri Lynge-Kehl. Welcome.
Thank you. It's really good to be here with you guys today. It's truly my pleasure. And I look forward to this time.
Yeah.
Yes, I cannot wait. Don't forget, Deborah, she lives in a haunted house.
Oh, and she lives
She
in a
bought
haunted
it because it was haunted.
Yes.
Well, we do have to talk about that then.
Yes.
I saw this house on Zillow living in Florida, and this was in Tennessee, Paris, never heard of it before.
Right.
And the house was absolutely so romantic. It's an old antebellum mansion from the 1800s, 1852. And so this is quite an old place. But as you can see behind me, we've got these fireplaces in the house. There are 10 of them.
Wow.
And I'm going to talk about a very powerful, frightening experience we had with one of them.
Yeah.
But the house was heated by literally coal back in those days, you know, and now they're gas. But it's funny, if these walls could talk, and right after we moved in, they started to. We had a lot of things happening here, and they were so bizarre. Things that in all my years, I had never had anything like that happened here.
Yeah.
And I knew this was where I was supposed to be. We were literally called here. We wanted to be a blessing to this area. And my husband is with Kehl Media, and he does a production here in town, Good Day Paris. And he's done a couple others, all very successful and really great. And we're moving forward and doing even more now. And I'm pretty excited about that. But, you know, one thing I wanted to start with before we get into all the things that and the levels of demonology and the different things that can happen is that being a Christian, having a background of being a Christian since 1973, actually. And I have never been looking for any of these things in my life. And what brought me to the Lord was the Lord himself. He drew me. And I started reading the scriptures because I was so afraid to even sleep at night when I was younger with my lights off, because I never knew what was going to present. I have heard audible voices, and I have also heard them calling my name, and powerful spiritual experiences, as well as demonic activity, ghosts, strange sounds, things moving, all of these things that can happen to us here in this life.
Yeah.
And I read something in the scriptures, and I'm going to read it to you, and just listen to these words, because I was blown away when I actually read this for the first time after having had so many experiences. It's in the book of Ephesians 6:12-14. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. So that would be me and you. We don't actually wrestle against each other, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world. Now, just that part was enough to give you tingles. And then it adds, and against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly realms. And I thought, boy, that is so accurate. That is so true. We have so many spiritual forces that we're fighting. When we're talking about demonics, we are talking about spiritual forces, very powerful. And here it was written thousands of years ago, for us to know that these things could happen. Unfortunately, I hadn't read that in the beginning of my life, so I didn't even know that what was happening can happen. And like all of us, when we're young, 5, 6, 7, and in our teens and things, we don't really understand it all, but it still happens to us.
Yeah.
And like we were talking earlier, Andy, and Diane, Deb, I remember seasons being so much worse than other times. Like you might go 2 or 3 months literally with something happening on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
That is so profoundly horrifying.
Yeah.
It almost causes you to freeze up and be afraid, to function. And you can doubt yourself. You wonder, are you nuts? Am I crazy? Where are these things coming from? And this is what brought me to become a demonologist. I was in a church back in the 70s, and one of the pastors were called out to go to a woman's home. And so he needed another woman to go alongside. And he asked everybody in the church, which ones of you women would like to go with me? And not a hand went up. And I thought, well, the poor guy, who's he going to go with? And so, like a dummy, I raised my hand and I said, well, I'll go with you, And that was my introduction into demonology. And this man was very well educated in that. He had been going into people's homes and doing cleansings, but in the name of the Lord, not with, smoke and mirrors and this kind of thing. I mean, he was going in with power. And it was really amazing what I saw happen with people. Like my very first experience was probably, well, I can't say it was the worst, but anyway, the girl had done drugs and had overdosed and had gone into this. It was like a fit, and she existed in this fit. She had her hands all done up like this and everything, and the drugs had caused her to have seizures and all kinds of things, but at least her life was saved. Well, we went in the house and talked to her, and she was all smiles and everything else. But when you mention the name of Jesus,
yeah,
wow. the demons came flying out, spitting, hurling obscenities, things I hadn't even heard of yet, and I was like, whoa, it was so frightening though. And the whole entire house, her parents had all the drapes drawn. She demanded total darkness. And I thought to myself when I first saw that, okay, this is bizarre. Who lives in total darkness in broad daylight, beautiful Florida day, and it's sunny and bright and shiny, and every drape in the house is closed? Yeah. It was like walking into a morgue. And she would sit in this one chair, and when we would pray for her, she would try to bite us, and all these things would happen. And this is a true demonic possession.
Yeah.
And he was able to call that demon out of that woman. And that was bizarre. She puked. And I just was throwing up and gagging on her own puke. And she was able to be relieved. And I saw that for the first time as a young woman. And I thought, oh my God, this is real. This is real. So that was my introduction.
Yeah.
And, many other really bizarre things happened. Also, maybe we'll have time to talk about some of those. But
yeah,
I know you kind of wanted me to talk about some of the things that have happened in the house.
Yes.
And yeah, and so at one of our fireplaces, we have a little Chihuahua. Okay. And her name is Lovey. She's about 5 pounds. And when we had first gotten her a couple years back, she was probably about four pounds. And we were sitting watching television on our couch, and we were by the living room fireplace. Yeah. And Kevin and I were sitting together. He was here, I was here, and Lovey was in his lap.
Right.
And they both were looking over at the fireplace instead of at the TV. I was looking at the TV. All of a sudden, Lovey starts to growl, and Kevin goes, oh! And he backs up like this. And then I looked at him like, what? Lovey was growling. And I mean, this is a little Chihuahua. We're in our own home. There's no one else there. And she's just going off the charts. And she wants to bark, but she's backing up, trying to hide under his arm. And I'm like, what is she doing? And he goes, Teri, did you see that? And I said, no, I was watching the TV. What did you see? And he said, well, the minute I looked over there, there was a huge black form that was coming out of this left side of the fireplace, and it was taking a form, and she started growling. And I said, oh my, I didn't see it. But let me tell you, about that time, you could feel it. Now it was a very powerful force in the room, and the dog was actually crying, barking and crying. And I thought, oh my God. And so I picked up Lovey and I walked her towards the fireplace. And I said, Lovey, you're my eyes. Dogs can see what we cannot see. Cats, dogs, horses, they can see things we don't see. And I want to tell you, this is the truth before God. That dog was trying to go under my arm and crawl behind me. She was so scared, and I held her so tight to try to use her. And she kept looking to the right now, not the left. And when I got near, she was so vicious. I didn't know what to do. So I said, I think that this spirit, Kevin, has gone into this chair. It's in this chair. So I sat in the chair to take authority over this demon. And because I knew it couldn't be good if the dog was acting like that. Something very powerful, something very dark, black. It was a black, like a smoky, shadowy thing that came out of this fireplace. And so as the dog was on my lap, she clawed almost through my clothes to get off of my lap. And then I relented. I let her go. And she ran over to Kevin and got behind him and was crying, like literally, no longer barking,
Yeah.
but her fear was off the charts. And I thought to myself, I'm sitting in the chair and the back of my neck, I could feel this power. And I just took authority over it in the name of Jesus and cast it out of the house. And it kept coming at me. It was very strong. I didn't expect it to be quite that strong. I just thought, because working as a demonologist, I deal with these things all of the time in my dreams. And I will tell you about the dreams. Just bizarre how the spirit realm works. But this one was in my face, not in my. And this thing was trying to envelop me now. And I kept feeling that. And it was so negative. So again, I said, I command you in the name of Jesus to be gone. And then when I said that, it left and the dog stopped. She just stopped and just sat there looking like she'd been like thrown out the window or something.
Yeah.
I mean, she literally had fear on a teeny little baby face, and we knew then there was something that we had to deal with, and so let me just explain a little bit. Many times while I'm sleeping, a entity will enter into a dream state I'm having, and it always comes cloaked in black. It's always tall, it's large, and it's powerful. It's never wimpy. I mean, these things are powerful. Yeah. And the cloaking, you can tell by just the size of the cloaking, you're dealing with something with greater proportions than myself. And I will start rebuking it and binding it and coming against it, but it's constant. It never stops. I don't even get a chance much to swallow. I mean, I'm constantly coming at it, and it gets closer to me. It backs me up, and then I bolt right through and say, I bind you. I command you to be gone in the name of Jesus. And it keeps coming and keeps coming. And those are those spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms that come into us while we're dreaming. And we can have these bizarre fights with them. They usually have voices, very gruff, very deep.
Yeah.
They usually have a very powerful anger that comes out of them. Their eyes, it's absolutely frightening, but you can't kowtow to that. You can't be overcome by it. To be a demonologist means to standing and keep binding and rebuking and casting down and asking God for his favor and wisdom. What does this need to hear? Why can't I overcome this? Why am I having such a hard time? I know it's not because I'm weak. It's because this thing is so strong. Every time, every single time that happens, within 1, 2, or the third day, my phone will ring at home and someone will say, Teri, you've got to come to my home. We've been battling this issue. It's so freaky. We don't know what to do. These are people I've never met before. I don't know them, but they found me under the Demonologist, advertising that I've done. And I will say to them, tell me, do you have a door in your house? Like I said to this one woman, do you have a door in your house that has a faux painting on it of a barn door?
Right, yeah.
And she'll go, yes. And she'll say, how did you know that? And I said, because you've called me 3 days ago. I fought this demon in your house, and you have got a very profound demon in that house. And she goes, I know. The kids see this big black thing, and they've seen it in the hallway. They've seen it in their bedrooms. They're so scared. They sleep with me now at night. And you've got to come, please come. So I go, and I've already been there. So as I walk into the house, I already have the victory. I've already won it.
Yeah.
So that type of a battle has already taken place. I'm simply walking through it, binding certain areas that I saw in that dream. Like if I saw a closet or if I saw the door, I go to that into that house and finding out that the children have been playing with the Ouija board. Some of them have been going and doing a lot of tarot cards. They've been opening themselves up. And this has happened so many times over the years, I literally have lost count. So that is one way that the spirit realm works with me. If you want. Did I lose you?
Yeah, so it froze then, sorry. What was that last bit you said?
Oh, I said if you wanted to ask me any questions while I'm sharing some of these stories, please feel free.
Yeah. Right, so this one's off Rick Allen. So he's saying, do you think everything is predestined? If so, where does free will fit into this?
I do feel that a lot of things are predestined, not everything. Okay, but we do have free will. We can either pick up a Bible board. We can either pick up tarot cards or, go and go into cemeteries. We can make choices to do whatever we want. We can choose to stay home and go to bed, pop the corn and watch TV. But a lot of us go out and do a lot of paranormal things and get involved with paranormal things. And I'm not telling people do or don't do these things. Personally, I don't go into the paranormal places we go to entertain. I go to clear and elevate the situation, not bring it down, not be a part of the negativity. And let me explain that. When I was in a paranormal group back in Florida, we would go with usually 2 psychics and 3 to 4 field investigators. And as I would go into the house, the spirits would come right at me, and I'm not a psychic at all. I'm not coming from that area. But the psychics would say, Teri, don't go in. Let us go in first. And I said, well, why do you want to go in first? And they said, because when you go in, they run. They do leave. They can tell there's a difference. We're here and we want to ask them questions. We want to be a part of this. We want to see who it is. You go in, you don't care who it is. You want to clear it and protect the homeowner. I'm protecting the living. They're protecting the dead. That's the difference between me and them. And so this gal that would go in and she would do her thing her way. And her way was to actually do something like, and walk through the house. And then she would come out with all her notes as she would, make all these noises. That was just her way that the spirit guides were talking to her. She would have all these things written down. And I would sit outside in the car for an hour with my coffee. And when she would come out, I would go in and be prayerful. Lord, lead me, guide me. And then I would see a picture. And on the, I'm talking about a specific home we went into. I saw the picture, and this picture was speaking to me in a way saying, this was my bedroom. And I'll go, oh, this is his bedroom. I died in a very traumatic death. Oh, okay, traumatic death. And then I would hear, I'm not here to torture my mother. She thinks I am. Okay, he's not here. And I would make my notes. We would go outside then and all come together, get with the homeowner, sit at a table and talk about what we had seen. The psychics, everything they said was like a bit of what had happened. And what I would share was what actually did happen.
Yeah.
And how they died, which room was theirs. One of the sons had died of AIDS, and I saw a very sick medical room in his bedroom.
Yeah.
And it was very sick and very dark. And I told her that, and she said, yes, he died of AIDS. And I said, yes, I could see that. It was very sick. And he suffered terribly. And she said, oh my gosh, he did. He had the worst of it. Even with the drugs, he had the worst of it. It got a hold of him before he could get a hold of it. And he died. And the other one had died. And I told her he had a very traumatic death. And she said, yes, he was killed in a motorcycle accident. And I said, okay.
Right.
And so the Lord was showing me something, but he was showing the psychics something as well, but just in a different way. We weren't coming to it at the same vein, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I know that we connect with higher and lower dimensions when we're doing this type of work. When you go into a old home, even like this one, good and bad has happened everywhere on the planet. Everywhere, not just in old homes, but in brand spanking new homes. Good and bad has happened. And so when you walk into a house where someone's been killed, murdered, just died, like in houses that I'm in, they were laid out in the living room for a week, while people would come and visit and bring food and comfort the folks. So the dead were here in the house for a length of time.
Yeah. Mm.
And downstairs, in my living room. And so many times I'll go down there and I'll just think, if these walls could just talk to me, and they do. And it's like, if I just sit there with my coffee, all of a sudden it's like being there. I can kind of feel like I'm transposing myself into that time frame and seeing it. Unbelievable. And the things that I saw, I went up to the history area in our library. I pulled a bunch of different books, confirmed so many things I had seen.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of things, and got away with it. There was a murder. There was some other very powerful things. People died just of natural causes.
Yeah.
A young boy who lived in this very room I'm in right now drowned, and we have seen him in the house. His family is all still alive and living locally.
Yeah.
And every now and then the gal calls me and says, has my brother shown up? And he doesn't. We put him to peace. We've laid him at the Lord's feet and said, give this boy rest. Give this boy, a passion for being with you instead of being here.
Yeah.
And I do believe that he's gone on, and what was happening here is now not happening, which is really a beautiful thing. And the other thing too is, generations are in our DNA. And so who we are all these people who have lived before us. And depending on what they did with their lives, all that DNA comes down to us. And that's just something to throw out there for people to ponder. This is why you are who you are, and why you have the sensitivities, and why you sometimes know things you shouldn't maybe have known, because it's been in the DNA in previous generations that's coming down to you. Your mother and father getting together to have you, also a part of your great grandparents having your mother or your father, and so on and so forth. So all these things do come to us. Lower entities will come to manipulate, whereas higher entities will come to help you evolve, and things that are good and positive and powerful. So you can have that as well. Yeah. Are there any questions anybody has that I don't want to just keep sharing if there's questions?
We've got a few questions. Deb, do you want to do the next one?
Yes, let me have a look. Right, question from Space Cadet Lottie. Has Teri ever found the people she cleared have taken on the physical appearance or form of the demon or attachment?
The woman that the very first demonic one, yes, she had definitely taken on a very frightening look. It was in her eyes mostly. They were so frightening. You didn't want to sit in the room and actually look at her.
Yeah.
You didn't want to look into her eyes. Other people, yes. There was one girl that called me up, phoned me up. She lived on Clearwater Beach and told me that she had murdered someone out on the beach, and she wanted me to come and help her. And she was self-destructive and had a razor and was slicing her arms and was slicing her legs. And she said, please come and talk to me. And, you know, that was a little frightening for me. I've got a pretty goofy person here who is either high on drugs or sick or mentally ill. They are confessing that they killed somebody down at the beach whose body is floating in the water. And I'm like, okay, Lord, should I be afraid of this? And the Lord said, no. And I said, oh, okay. So I called a friend, Brian. I didn't want to go alone. I needed a guy to go with me. I didn't want to be the only one there in case she had a gun or tried to slice me up or something. I knew I had to be very careful. I mean, she told me she was hiding in the bushes in front of a Hilton. And I said, what? You know, but it was about 12:30 at night. So it was very late at night. She had called me to wake me up. And so down I went. And when I got to the Hilton with Brian, this girl came out of the bushes, literally. She had been sitting in the bushes hiding. And they were very thick bushes. And so as she came out of them, I could see blood all over her clothes and everything. And after spending quite a bit of time with her, about 4 hours, she was barking like a dog. She was spitting and biting, and her countenance was very much demonic. Her face was contorted. She, again, was someone who wanted to bite. I find that absolutely bizarre that these people with true demon possession want to bite you. They want to lash out at you.
Yeah.
And she had such a strong attachment of this demon on her. And after 5 hours, actually, I took her to a pastor in Clearwater that I knew. I knocked on his door at 2 a.m. in the morning. And from 2 a.m. to about 4:30, almost 5 o'clock, she was biting, kicking, spitting, doing these things, barking like a dog. And finally, I got up after praying and said, I rebuke you and I command you to stop. I'm done. I am not listening to another foul thing come from your mouth. I bound her and rebuked her. And the entire time, the pastor was doing it and Brian was doing it. And I said, I'm done. And the spirit left her. It was the most bizarre thing you ever saw. A year later, I was at a church and there was a big worship thing going on. And a girl walks up to me. I'd never seen her before, or so I thought. And she gave me a big hug and a kiss and said, I want to thank you for setting me free from that demon. She said, by the way, she never did kill anybody. It was a story. It was a story that she had given us. However, she did slice herself up pretty good and will have bruises for the rest of her, scars for the rest of her life. But she didn't kill herself. Yeah. She needed attention. And a lot of people that are looking for attention will always go to a dark side, it seems. You know, if they're not getting it from their loved ones, they seem to go to the dark side, which is very sad, but it happens.
Yeah.
So lower entities. But interdimensional things can come on us so easily. We can let them in so many ways. Sometimes just drinking, getting too drunk. If you're easy to possess, you could be possessed. You know, I tell people this, please be careful with your life. Your life is precious and special. You know, don't throw your pearls before swine. Anything here could happen to you, you know, and usually does.
True.
So, any questions?
Yes. So we have another one from Space Cadet. She'd like to know, has Teri ever heard of an account of a Sasquatch being possessed by a negative entity?
No, I haven't. However, I have had an experience with a Sasquatch in Florida in the Green Swamps.
Tell us.
And yeah, that was very powerful. We weren't looking for it. Again, I had little Lovey and my little Chihuahua, and we took her out to go potty in our backyard. We had about 1.5 acres in the backyard, and it butted up to the Green Swamp. And so next door to us was a beautiful home. And these homes were really beautiful in this area. It was like a gated kind of community, and really large homes. All of our homes were very large in this neighborhood. And, you know, so we're out there and we hear the cows coming. Back, there was a wire fence between us and the Green Swamp. And we would have many times snakes, you know, cottonmouths. We would have alligators. We would have so many different animals back there. I mean, it was ridiculous. And so that fence was helpful, but it didn't always work. But it did keep the cows out, the bigger animals. So there was a big sinkhole behind this one man's house that lived next door to us, and it was massive. And it had now become filled with water. And it was like a place where all the animals would go to drink. And of course, the alligator was out there. So you be careful out there, because the alligator was in our backyard many times. And you don't just go outside without taking caution. And as we did, we went out this night because I heard the cowbell and I heard the cow coming. I wanted to see the cow. These things were massive animals. And Lovey had chased them on a couple occasions. And so, you know, we were out there with her and holding her so she wouldn't take off. And he's looking, Kevin and I are out there, and he's looking at the cows. And there's 2 and a third one coming at the water, you know, sinkhole. And he's holding Lovey. And I'm looking over to the left. And there's this, I'm going to say 12-foot high, black, huge head on a shoulder that came right out from the head. It was, I didn't even know what I was looking at. And it was definitely a black Bigfoot and massive. The shoulders were way out, and it was very long and very tall. According to the trees, it had to be 12 feet. Now there's a huge sinkhole between us and them. And Kevin was saying maybe it came after the cows. It knew the cows were coming. I don't know. You know, we don't know why, but I screamed and said, Kevin, look. And as he looked, I grabbed Lovey. And I was holding her real tight because I thought, oh my God, if she takes off, I'm not running over there, you know, because you'd have to run all the way around our sinkhole back there. And it was more like a pond, but it was very overgrown, lots of bush around it. And I was screaming, and Kevin saw it at the very end. I watched it take 2 massive steps backwards into the huge trees and all the shrubs, and you could kind of see an outline of it, but it kept going back very intentionally. It took these steps back, and I was scared out of my gourd, thinking, what the hell was that? Oops, what the heck was that? You know, and I just thought, oh my gosh. And I grabbed Lovey and I started running into the house. And as I'm running, I'm thinking, where did it go? You know, what was it? Where did it go? How safe are we here tonight? You know, is this thing going to come back out? And I was really scared. And I went into the lanai where the pool was, and I looked back, and Kevin is still out there, and I'm screaming bloody murder, get in here, please. I don't know if it's going to come back. And he just wanted to see it again. And it didn't come back out. So we ran into the house. Well, this was about 5:30, something like that. And at about 7, it started getting dark at that time. And so now I'm scared out of my gourd, thinking that thing is still out there. And I was afraid to go into the lanai. But yet we were like out there trying to be really quiet. And Kevin had a very high powered torch that he could turn on to see it, go back that whole distance to see what was back there. And we never did see it again. We did have a bobcat come in, we had a lot of different animals, but we never did see that again. And yeah.
So did anything else go on when you had that sighting? Any other strange things happening that you know of?
It was a month where we had many odd things happen. We have had so many strange things. And one thing that was a positive was there was hawks in the backyard almost every morning sitting on one of our, and I thought, that's interesting. The hawks are here all of a sudden, all the time, every night in the evening, they would be there. I'm trying to think of one thing that did happen that was a very paranormal thing. Frequently, I would see spirits or sometimes shadowy people, shadowy-ish kind of people, and shadows just moving, not even with definition in them. And this one night, it was right around that same time I was getting into bed. We had just bought a new bed frame from an old antique store, like a thrift antique store. And I was coming into. Did we lose the feed?
Yeah, sorry. I was going to wait for it to come back. Yeah, if you can just repeat that last bit.
Okay. So I was getting ready to go to bed, and we had just bought this new bed frame, really beautiful bed frame. And there was a man standing next to my bed with white hair, very old man. He looked to be about 78, 80. And he had on a white t-shirt like you would see a guy sleeping in, and white boxer shorts. And I went to get in bed, and he was right there. And as I'm looking at him, he's pushing at me, although I did not feel his push. He's pushing at me to get out of the way, like, hey, get out of here, get out of here. And I turned around and rebuked it and bound it in the name of Jesus, and he was gone. And I thought, what the heck? I wonder if this bed frame is tied to this guy. So that, even though it had nothing to do with the Bigfoot experience, it was a paranormal experience that was still happening. And when I got in bed, I woke up at about, I'm going to say maybe 3-ish or something like that to use the potty, because I usually get up in the nighttime once or twice to go potty. And I remember getting up and saying, I'm going back into the bed now. And if that man is there, I am not going to be pleased. I'm not going to be happy about this. You better not be there. Because, really, it's so unsettling to see those things, to see them very clearly, to see that person standing there. Even though you could see through it, it was really a full apparition of a human man. And so when I went back in the room, there was nothing there. And obviously my rebuke worked that night. And I want to say something right here. Just because you rebuke something once does not mean it is not going to come back. Okay. It doesn't mean that you've cleansed everything and it's over and done with forever and ever. Oh, no. So just know that these things can come back depending on what type of entity it is, depending on the power that the entity has, like when they would turn my lights on and off, those are a stronger entity than just a little vision.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
So that one has a little more power, and you have to deal with it a little more differently, a lot harsher, and
Yeah.
and you have to sometimes stay at it a bit longer, but not long. I'm not saying long. The name of the Lord is the most powerful name on the planet, and rebuking and binding in his name, they have to obey. They have no place to go but to obey. And that's why I tell people, please use the name of Jesus. If you believe in Jesus, please use that name. It's powerful, and they will go. What had happened also right in that time frame was my girlfriend had called me because her mother was very ill and dying and had dementia. She asked me to come to her mother's home and cleanse it because they could not keep any hospice people in that house, because the house was always things moving, chairs moving, noises. You could hear voices. And the hospice women that came said, I'm never going back there. It's scary as hell. And they went through about 8 hospice people. And finally, she called me and said, please come over.
Yeah.
And so I did. I went to her home and I stood right up next to the wall. And so my right shoulder was kind of out, but my left shoulder was right up against the wall. And let me tell you, the minute I opened the door to go in there to get to this place that I was being led to, I could feel a very sick and very nasty, twisted spirit, just something powerful and evil, fear-based. It was just uncomfortable. And as I walked into the house and saw the mother, and of course she was like looking at somebody in nobody's home.
Yeah.
She was jam-packed with spirits. I mean, in the Bible, Jesus talks about seeing the man that was throwing himself about in the Garden of Gethsemane. And when this demon would throw the man down, you know, he would throw himself into the fire. He would hurt himself and do all these things. No one was home. And Jesus simply said to him, come out of him.
Yeah.
And he said, who are you? And they spoke back out of the man, we are legion. What I want you to hear here is one human can have a legion of demons, not
Right.
one demon, not one possession. A legion can be in that. And I liken it unto when you buy a new kitty or when you get a new puppy, they're loaded with worms.
Yeah.
And they have to be dewormed.
Yeah.
Humans can be very much like those puppies and those kitties, loaded with worms, and they have to come out. The animals will give them a treatment. The humans have got to be bound, rebuked, and those demons have got to be called out.
Yeah.
Now, as I was standing in my girlfriend's house with my left arm up against the wall, a spirit grabbed my arm, and I felt a full hand take very strong hold of me and push me. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. And I got so angry. And I said, you take your hands off of me. You may not touch me again. And I bound it and cast it out. And we had so many issues right then and there in the house. The lights were going bizarre. The mother was screaming. So many things were happening. My husband was feeling it. She was feeling it. Her husband was feeling it. They were all like, oh my God, do you feel this? And I said, but let me tell you why, Rebecca. You live across the street from a funeral home, and your mother is wide open. And these spirits are just coming in and they're having their way. And this is why all of these people cannot deal with her, because the house is literally jam-packed. The minute you open the door, you feel it. So always trust your gut. I want to tell you that when you go to a place, if you are doing a paranormal search or investigation, trust your gut. If you feel something very sick, like you're almost sick at your tummy, or if you feel something very powerful, be advised you're not alone. And usually we're never alone. They're everywhere. People have been living on this very earth. They have been living on this very earth for generation upon generation upon generation. And so this is why there's so much activity. There's a lot of things going on here, a lot, just so much. And when an entity has the power to grab your arm and squeeze it and move you, you're not dealing with a ghost.
No.
You're dealing with a demon. And that's how you can tell if it's a ghost, an apparition. That's one thing. They will never hurt or harm you. They can't. They're not that strong. And you have authority over them. We here in the land of the living have authority over every single thing out there. That's why now when something happens, nothing scares me. I'm like, hey, I don't care who you think you are. I know who I am, and you're going, not me. And I take a very strong stance in that, being a demonologist and being a very strong Christian. So, are there any questions before I go on to any more?
Can I just put this one up that Rick said? Is that right?
Yeah.
Just let me find it. There we go. So he's just questioning what you said, Terry. There are people who do not use the name of God and they have success. So it can't just be about God.
Well, I will agree to disagree with him. Yeah, there are spirits and there's a spiritual realm. And I know a lot of people do have a lot of people, especially the psychics, will say that they burn incense and they do clearings and this kind of thing. Yeah. And I do believe that those demons do back away. I do believe that those spirits go. My husband and I were called to a house where they had something like 12 visits from psychics and one from a pastor of a metaphysical church. And they said, no matter what we do, this thing keeps coming back. Right. And they had a knife that they had been cutting bread with, and it was on their sink, on their counter, and flew off. And they have a baby, and the baby was in the house on the floor because babies crawl. This thing flew off, and they were like, "We're done. We've got to get help, and we can't keep calling these same people we've had over and over and over. Please come." And we came and we set up something like 6, I think it was 6 cameras in each room of the house to see where is this energy coming from and what is going on. And it was in the baby's room. And the baby actually sat up in the crib and was looking over in the corner just like this. And we thought, okay. And then just this little bit of a little ghostly form was there, and then it was gone. Yeah. The baby was screaming and screaming. And they said, this is what the baby does. He screams. He'll be sound asleep. He'll get up and sit there and look at this and then go ballistic with screaming, and they can't stop him. So I said, okay. So we went in there. And again, we anointed the child with oil because this is a child. And we wanted to take authority in that position. And the parents prayed with us and we rebuked it in the name of Jesus. They called me a year later and said, we just want to thank you. This has not come back. And we put a hedge of protection. We prayed on the north, south, east, and west of the home. We asked the Lord to anoint angels there at the front and back door. We did all these things. And I know a lot of people disagree with this, but I can only tell you my experiences. Yeah. And like I said before, things will come back. This is why we always have to be on the lookout, for whatever is happening in people's lives. And I mean nothing negative towards him asking that question. I think that's a good question. I do think that some people get results, and praise God for it. But I just disagree. I think the most powerful name on the planet is Jesus, and try it. See if you don't have more success.
Right, we've got a question before the break then. From Blue Shift. What's Teri's take on shadow beings? What does she think they are, etc.?
A shadow being is in that realm of interdimensional things. They are not, they don't, in my knowing, in my 50 years of doing this, okay, they have never harmed anybody, but they scare the bejesus out of everybody. And they really do, because they can take form, they can shape shift in form. They can be here and gone and there again. And it's very frightening. I do believe in them. What I think they are is just an interdimensional being. And they seem to be a cyclic type of a pattern with people. I lived when I was 17 years old in a very old house, and we painted a wall black because we just thought it was going to be cool,
Yeah.
I mean, I was young, right? And so I painted this wall black, and it was right off of the kitchen. So my kitchen looked right at that wall, and the table was there. And so one evening I was in the house, in the kitchen, making the meal, and I looked over, and there was a black shadow, blacker than black, on that wall. And it literally caused me to freak out. I was like, oh my God, I can see that damn thing. And that wall was pure black. I mean, dark black.
Yeah.
And it was a matte black. It wasn't a shiny black.
Yeah.
And you could see this spirit being moving right in it. It did never hurt me, but I saw it again a couple months later. And when I saw it a couple months later, y'all, I will tell you, I moved out of that apartment. And I thought, I hope somebody paints that wall. I'm not even going near it.
Yeah.
But it never did hurt me. Now, if it has hurt somebody, I'd be interested in knowing about that, but I've never seen them hurt anybody.
Yeah. I actually think Rick in the chat's got experience about that, being attacked by a shadow being.
Yes.
I'm sure he'll let us know.
Yes.
Yes, I'd love to hear about that. I haven't heard anybody.
So I think after the break, we've got some more questions.
Okay.
We've got about 3 minutes. So
can we do a quick question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to do it? Let me find one.
The top one's quick.
So I'll do this one from Larson. This is the guy who's chatting to about Highgate. You kind of was talking about this before we went live. Do you think a building can inherit evils?
Yes, I do. I don't think they inherit them. I think they just are there from whoever was in that building previous, especially if there was a death or something very profoundly wicked there.
Yeah.
We have, I can't say this enough, there have been generation upon generation upon generations on our earth. And so depending on where something is built, and and many things are actually built over old war memorials, over places that have had a murder, and even just the murder on the ground, and then you construct a building over it. When we get back, I really want to share what happened when we moved in here.
Yeah.
This building was built on, and I'd like to talk about that. But yes, they can be anywhere, and they usually are. I mean, I hate to say it, an older building especially, even a brand new one, depending on where it's being constructed, can pick up very negative energies. And we can talk about that later, because like I said, if somebody was shot or killed, that can be a very cyclic negativity that is there.
Yeah.
Very.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Powerful. Our emotions are so powerful. They really are. But I know you have to take a break.
Yes. So, going to take us all off screen because it's the only way I can do it. And we'll be gone for just over 5 minutes. So,
Yay.
go for your Tommy Tiddle, whatever it is you do.
Tommy Tiddle.
Don't know. First thing that come into my head. Someone find out the results of the football, and we will see you in 5 minutes. So.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And we are back. Well, that first hour flew past, and that 5 minutes felt like about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It did.
It's just gone so fast.
I know.
Yeah, it does go fast.
I think we're going to have to start doing 4-hour shows.
Yeah. No.
No.
I don't know what I was agreeing for then.
Too late. Look, there's enough witnesses. So you signed up for it now, Deb. Too late. Well, you should have thought about it.
Yeah, should you? Open my mouth first.
Yes. Think.
Right, I want to ask what got you involved in MUFON?
Well, that's a good question. And it's also has a very paranormal answer. Yeah. So in 1979, I had an experience with a UFO. I was on my way home from work, and it was about 2:30 in the morning. And I won't go into that whole story, but so I didn't believe in extraterrestrials. I didn't believe in spacemen, crafts, any of that. I really didn't. I was on the worship team at church. I was raising my children. I was teaching the children, and a very integral part of a local church. So that was the farthest thing from my belief system and what I could even fathom. Okay.
Yeah.
And so on my way home this night, I'm coming down 28th Street North in St. Petersburg, and I see this craft hovered over a railroad track. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. And I said out loud to the Lord, nothing can happen to me that you don't allow. Why are you allowing this? I don't believe in this. This is comic book entertainment. You've got to be kidding me. And so I had a long experience. If I would share it, it would take 20 minutes anyway. So I'm not going to share that. But the bottom line was, after it happened to me, I was standing in front of my Civic. Somehow or other, the extraterrestrials had pulled me out of my car without my knowledge or without my to-do. And I kept talking to the Lord through the whole thing, going, why me? Why? Go do this to somebody else, because and I did see a tall white came out of a blue light that there was actually two crafts. One was hovered over the railroad tracks, but there was one over here in a field that was cleared near the railroad tracks. And the tall white took me onto that craft and spoke to me and told me, we will not harm you. We will not take you. And I was like, what? Take me where? So anyway, this is how I was introduced to extraterrestrials. I shared with my mother what had happened to me that night. I woke her up. I had missing time. I thought it was 2:30. It was 4 a.m. And I didn't even know there was such a thing as missing time. So I didn't know that I had missing time. And 29 years later, my mother had said to me at that time, the night of 1979, whatever you do, don't talk to anybody. My mother was in management with Honeywell Aerospace, and I was a secretary for Honeywell Aerospace. And my sister was a secretary with Honeywell. So my mother said, if you ever want anybody to ever believe a word that comes out of your mouth, do not share this with anybody. And I was, pretty much a goody two shoes. Okay. I did everything my mommy told me to do. I was a good girl in trouble, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I didn't say anything. 29 years later, I'm sitting on a couch in my home and a voice comes to me. And that was very commonplace for me, hearing audible voices. This voice came to me and said, go to the computer, report your sighting. 29 years earlier, and I knew exactly what it was talking about. I got up, I went over to the computer. I went, gee, I don't even know how to do that. So I typed in report a UFO and up came MUFON. And that is how I got involved with MUFON.
All right.
Yeah. So I was they sought me out in 79, and then
Yeah.
they caused me to report my sighting 29 years later.
Yeah.
So what area do you cover for MUFON?
What?
What area do you cover? What state?
Oh, I was a state director. I started out, this is also very bizarre. I started out as a, just reporting my sighting in 2008. And then in 2010, the same voice came to me while I was sitting on the same couch and said, go to the computer and revisit your sighting account. So I did.
Yeah.
And that's when I brought it up, found MUFON again, and it said become a field investigator. So I became a field investigator, and I was that for a few months. And then they asked me to be a state section director, and I was that for a few months. And then they asked me to be an assistant state director, which was climbing right up these ranks. And then they asked me to be a state director. And so I was the state director of Florida. And I was, until I moved to Tennessee, I maintained that position. And then at one of the symposiums in 2016, I was asked to be on the board of directors. So it was almost like they led me here, and they were advancing me. And it's just so interesting to me because, again, I truly believe that nothing can happen to me that he doesn't allow in my life. And so this was allowed.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to hear. God allows things in our lives for very specific and purposeful meaning, and things that we need to accomplish, things that we need to do, even if it isn't what we want or what we would choose.
Yeah.
He guides our path, and I do believe that. And I also believe that we're spiritual beings on a human journey.
Yeah.
Definitely. It is a much bigger picture than what you're taught at school or church or anywhere else. It is a very big and deep, deep picture.
Yeah.
And we're all a part of it. Not one of us is singled out. We're no different than the other. Each one of us will go through it. I do know that some people live their whole lives and experience nothing.
Yeah.
Now, those people I wonder about because I don't know. Well, I don't even want to say this in the common field here, but I wonder if they're really real people.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're pawns on the board of life. I don't know, because I have met people who are like 78 years old, and they tell me they've never had a spiritual experience in their life. Not even one.
Makes you wonder if they're a bit more closed off than other people.
Absolutely closed off. And it doesn't make a bit of sense to me. How could somebody like me from birth, and I do remember when I was about 3, maybe 4, I was very short. I didn't, my body wasn't taller than the first pane on the window as I looked out. Yeah. So I know I was a tiny person when I questioned this, but I remember saying to God, I'm ready to come home now. I've tasted all the food. I love the pizza. The spaghetti's really good. And I've had a cold day and a hot day, and I've been naughty, but I've been very good. I've had a spanking. I know a lot of words. I know what a TV is. I love the sunshine. I actually had this long conversation as a little person with a huge God and said, I'd like to come home now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he spoke to me audibly and said, Teri, you cannot come home now. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. Now, when I was sick, when I was 21 and I had my 27, when I had my experience with the extraterrestrials and the crafts, I remember saying to him, I just want to, I want to come home. I want to come home. I don't want to be here anymore. And he told me, Teri, there is so much you do not understand. And I thought, yeah, no kidding. Because who could believe this crap, Yeah. And yet this is my life now. Yeah. It's so much integrated into my life and the paranormal and everything else, But through my life, he's spoken to me and showed me that this is my calling and this is what I was chosen to do. I had a very powerful experience in 1973 where I actually had a vision of the Lord. I also had a death and dying experience that very day.
Right.
And so it was very powerful. It changed everything about who I was from being a younger child. In 1973, I was 21. I'm giving my age away. Don't tell anybody.
We can't work it out. It's too late to be working things out.
Yeah, I'm 70. Okay. So, okay.
Wow.
So anyway, so, here I was, as a little child going through all of this stuff. And just, it was so bizarre for me, but it was my calling.
Yeah.
I had been chosen, and I was told I was chosen when I was 21. And I thought, chosen for what? Why?
Yeah.
Why? Why would you choose me? I'm not interested in that stuff. But it doesn't matter what we want. It's what he wants. And so, this is the path he chose for me, a little crazy as it may seem sometimes to the not so normal person, because we that have experienced are really the normal. We're the ones awake. We're the ones aware. We're the ones who understand this much bigger picture. And for those that don't see this picture, I do feel sorry for them in a way, I really do.
Yeah.
But, before the break, we were talking about things that had happened here in this house when we very first moved in. And when we moved in, my husband was still working in Florida. And so we brought 3 vans up here, and moving vans from Florida to see. And my husband had to go back to work in Florida because he was still working there, and he still is to this day. However, COVID changed how we do business. So he can work from home here in Tennessee. So he had to make a trip back, and he would be there for a couple of weeks, and then he would come home. And I was here upstairs. I have the whole upstairs of this house. It's supposedly 5,2,600 square feet or something like that. Whatever it is, I don't know. But anyway, it's pretty big, not that big, but pretty big. And so I have the whole upstairs, and my son has half of the downstairs.
Yeah.
And so with his wife and their kids, and we have an old building on the property that is a slave house, an original from back in the Civil War times.
All right.
Big barn where they would keep their animals and their chickens and all that good stuff. We have a barn on the property, and it's 2 acres in the city. And so I'm here alone. We've only been here about a week and a half, and I'm sound asleep. Well, I think I mentioned earlier, we have 10 fireplaces here.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's how you keep everything warm. And this was February. And so it was very cold, 17 degrees, in the evenings. And so we would light these furnaces, which scared the Jesus out of me, because in Florida, you don't need that. You never need that. It's always nice and warm and cozy. But here, you weren't nice and cozy unless you had those things blaring. Okay. So downstairs we had one going, and I said to my son, turn it off before you go to bed. Okay. So I come upstairs, I go to bed. I'm sound asleep, 3 o'clock in the morning. My son is yanking on my leg. He is pulling it like this. And I thought, oh, there's a fire. Oh my God. We all fell asleep and forgot to shut the downstairs fireplace off, and they're gas fireplaces now. And so I rolled over and I said, Jason, what? Is there a fire? And as I rolled over, there wasn't anybody there. Oh. This thing had my whole half body, and it was yanking me out of my bed. Okay. And I thought, okay, we have a very strong presence here in the room with us. And I'm like, oh man, and I got to fight it alone. Kevin's not here. I'm by myself, and I thought, wait, maybe it was Jason, but did he run downstairs? No, he couldn't have.
No.
And I said, I didn't hear him go down the stairs. I didn't hear him come up the stairs. And I thought, that's funny. It totally woke me up. And now I'm sitting on the side of my bed going, all right, all the lights are off. So I turn a light on and I'm walking around the upstairs, just looking to see if there actually is somebody in the house. That would be number one, is somebody in the house? And so no one was in the house. And I'm opening closet doors and everything, thinking, okay, this is a prankster type of a joke.
Yeah.
My whole body was being pulled down the bed. And I thought, what the hell has that kind of power? What the heck has that kind of power, And so I walked downstairs and I looked in his room and he was sound asleep in bed. So I walked back upstairs and I thought, okay. So I started rebuking and binding, and I commanded, you may not touch me. You may never again touch me in this place. This is my space, and rebuked and bounded in the name of the Lord. And then I was starting to really get tired again because I'd been up already for like 20 minutes. And I went back to sleep. I woke up the next day and called my husband and told him what happened. And he said, that's so weird. I just felt strange leaving you there when I left, because we hadn't gone through the house and anointed every room and every portal, every opening, every window, every door. We hadn't done that yet. And no matter where I live, I'm always anointing the doors, any opening to the inside or outside, the attics, the basements, or the cellars. We have a cellar here.
Yeah.
These different things, It helps. It's like a protection on you. But this spirit that was here was very powerful. And I'm taking from it yanking me right out of bed that it didn't want us here.
Right.
And I thought, okay, too bad, we're here. And so, somehow or other, I'm going to have to deal with this. And we have seen many things that first week. Another thing that happened was in that week, my son's wife has an autistic child. And if you know about autism, different degrees of autism, this little guy doesn't interact. He doesn't usually look you in the eye, and he's in a world of his own pretty much. So he was downstairs. And he was at the big island that we have where you can seat like 8 people. And he was sitting in one of those little chairs there. And I was sitting at this little Duncan Fife right in front of the fireplace because I thought, I'm not sitting way over there. I'm sitting right here in front of the fireplace and staying warm. And so we have this little table with 2 chairs there. And he was eating, and I looked over at him, and he was like this, just staring. And I thought, what is he staring at? And as I looked over, I could see out of the peripheral vision of my eye a shimmering white dress. And I saw the whole bottom of the dress from the waist all the way to the floor. I didn't see anything up above it because the sun was right there.
Right.
And coming in the window. But I could see what was down below. And then I looked back at him, and he's still like this, just staring at it.
Yeah.
And I said to him, do you see the lady in the dress? And his response was, 3 mean yes. Yeah. That's how he speaks.
Yeah.
And I said, you can see her. I said, okay. And I looked over at it and I said, I command you to leave now. Right now, in the name of Jesus, no harm, no, nothing spooky, nothing. Leave. And then I looked back at him, and he was eating a cereal again. And I said, do you see her there now? And he looked up and he goes, nope. And he went right back to his cereal. And I thought, isn't that interesting? We have something pulling me out of bed, yanking on my leg. Then we have someone standing in the kitchen with, Landon and I. And shortly after that, my son, Jason, was downstairs standing at this real big refrigerator in the wall. And he's just standing there looking for something to eat. and he hears a woman say to him, "Can you see me?" And he was shocked, and he looked out the door thinking maybe somebody's at the front door. And then he looked at the back door, because the front and the back door are in the living room.
Right.
And there was not a soul there. There was not a woman there. And then he heard this very same voice, and he described it as young and very innocent, very childlike, like maybe somebody 17 or 18, not an elder person, you know. And then she said, "Can you see me?" And she was very demonstrative about, "Can you see me?" And he literally said, "Mom, I felt like I was going to faint. I had never heard somebody speak right into my face like that ever." And he said, "I looked everywhere. There was nobody." And we live in a 2-story house. It's actually 3 with the attic, but you have to come up a set of stairs to even get to our landing to come in the 2-story house.
Yeah.
So nobody was out in the yard that could have even been talking. So he came up to me. I was up in my room, and he was as white as a ghost when he came in and said to me, Mom, come downstairs now. I need you right now." White as a ghost. And I went down there, and we took a bunch of pictures. We did not see anything, but you could definitely feel that we weren't standing in that room alone. And him and Nikki and I were just down there trying to figure out why a spirit was reaching out to him. "Can you see me? Can you hear me?" And that was it. Now, I did want to share another thing that happened downstairs, but before I do, is there anybody that wants to ask any questions?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
So, what did your husband think of this? How does he react to everything that's going on? Is he the same as you, or did he have a different perspective of it all?
He and I are this perfect little match where we both share all of the same ideas, and we're on the same page. And he and I have only been married, let's see, 13 years, I guess now. Going on 13 years. And it is very important that people support you when you are going through these terrifying and frightening things. It is important. We need to be able to always connect with the person that we live with, because when something very frightening, like my leg being pulled, happens, I could not live with somebody that would laugh at me, you know. And I did in my first marriage. I could never get an amen. I could never get them to see what I was seeing or know what I was knowing. And every time I shared it, it was a roll of the eyes, or it was some form of strange judgment. So it is important that we all do see on the same page. Not necessary. It depends. You know, not everybody has a life like mine and things like mine happening all the time. So, you know, for me, it was very important. And before I married Kevin, I wanted to make sure that we were on the same page, because he has experienced a lot of these things with me. And my sons have both my extraterrestrial things. I had a mother-son date night one night, and we saw, a craft that morphed from 3 lights into a triangle. That's another story I could maybe share at some time when we talk about UFOs or something. But everyone in my family who's around me eventually has something. Even Nikki, when she moved here and became a part of the family, you know, she didn't know what she was getting into. But
throwing them at the deep end.
Yeah. But now we're all like, you know, okay, what's going on now? We have next? And what happened this morning, which is really funny. I was getting dressed in the other room, and we have had for forever, we have had this dog in the house, and it's a dog spirit. It runs all over. It makes noises. You can hear it scratching. It's all
Yeah.
over the house. I've even had ufologists who have come to spend the night at my house because I was hosting them for a symposium or a conference or a meeting or something.
Yeah.
Even he has seen it. Other people have seen it and heard it out of their peripheral vision. And this morning, as I was getting dressed, it was running all around in my dressing room. And I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, why are you here now? You know, I just don't understand why this has to happen now. And yet it was with me this morning until I got into this room. And now I hear nothing. But I don't ever really rebuke him or throw him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just tell him to stand down, stop, you know, and it does. And then we could go a week, a month, half a year and not hear it again, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I have spirit animals, but I don't hear them. I just see the shadows.
yes, you see the shadow, and that's what we see.
Yeah.
And many people have seen this shadow in our home. And not just this home, but also in the home in Florida. So it seems like it's attached to us. It's a little spirit dog.
Yeah.
I'm okay with him as long as he's little.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want a 6-foot dog in your house, do you?
Yeah, you don't want a Tibetan Mastiff or anything like that.
I know. Well, the one thing that I did want to share that happened downstairs here in this house after we moved in, about maybe a year after we moved in. Nikki and Jason were in their room. They had watched TV. They had shut the TV off and gone to bed. And of course, they have little lights, you know, in the room and outside the windows. And there was a black shadow figure, the man that was talking about the black shadows before. But this is a very strange, and so that's what made me think about this particular experience. A black shadow was up in the left-hand corner of their room, up near the ceiling. And there's very tall ceilings in this house. You know, I don't know if I do this, if you could see, but they're pretty tall.
Yeah.
See?
Like Victorian height.
Yeah. Yes. And downstairs, they're a tad bit taller than they are upstairs. And they had both just shut the light off, and Nikki saw it and pointed it out to Jason and said, "Oh my God, what is that?" And this black mist flowed down, went in front of the TV, and turned the TV on. And they were like, "What the heck?" And now the room is illuminated from the TV being on. And it started going through the room, which was the parlor, and into the ladies. It's called like a ladies' den.
Right.
Or something like that. And it's a smaller room, but very adorable, just adorable little room with a beautiful fireplace in it and French doors going out onto the porch. And so it went out, and they both jumped out of bed and followed it, and they could see it. It was clearly a black misted shadow, and it was going out the French doors. Once it got onto the outer porch, it stopped, and they were both like, "Whoa," and it didn't do anything. Nikki looked away, and Jason saw it jump off the porch, which is remember, my house is elevated. So to get to our doors, you have to come up like, I think it's 10 stairs just to get up on either side on the east and the west side of the house. So they came up, it jumped down those 10 stairs, and it ran all the way back to the edge of the little house that's on our property that used to be a slave home. And it also used to be a kitchen for the house after that. Okay, because this house was, remember, built in the 1800s, early 1800s, mid 1800s. So it stopped at the end of the slave house, and that's where it morphed into this massive demonic spirit. And Jason and Nikki were shocked. They were shocked. And I mean, they were really in fear at this point. This thing had like some kind of a thing sticking up out of its head.
Ooh.
I do have pictures of this. I'll maybe have to see if I can locate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, please. That'd be
It
great.
stood up and it turned to the right, and it went right next to the little house is here, and it went right to the back of the little house. The next morning, when they got up, they came exact same picture of what they saw. It had literally imposed itself onto the white wall, and it was there with these things shooting up. And you could see the big thighs of this thing. You can see the torso and the head, and it's massive.
Wow.
And it's there even now. We didn't pull that completely down. I pulled it down a little because it was starting to kind of be weird.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can see this thing on the side of the house.
Yeah.
But it grew from the ivies attaching themselves to that little house, that little place. And so I called a friend of mine who is an amazing psychic. She's just a really good friend in MUFON.
Yeah.
And I told her what had happened. And she does what they call remote viewing.
Yes.
And so she remote viewed it, and she goes, "Oh my God, Teri." She goes, "If you count 60 feet out from your porch, that's exactly where it stopped." She's never even been here before. She's never even seen my house before.
Right.
She doesn't know anything about this place. And so Jason and Nikki went outside and they counted 60 feet out exactly where it happened. And they were like, "Wow, how could she know that?" And then she said, "If you were to dig down 6 feet, there's a dead body. There is a body down there."
Yeah.
And she said, "It's right if you just go 60 feet and just over there." I said, "Oh, you mean right where the side of that building is, where this thing literally grew in the ivies?" She said, "Yes." And that person was demon possessed at death. That person had a demon. And that is what you saw in this house. And she said it is from the 1800s, but she believes it was here in the 1700s and died in the 1800s.
Right.
So whoever that person was, that is where that was coming from. So we did a little bit of background checking, because until then we hadn't. So we did a little background checking on it, and it ended up that this land was where the local Indians had their meeting place with all the other tribes, because there was a spring on this property. This was considered a sacred space. And what Jason, the skinwalker, and it morphed. And that's why I was saying to that guy earlier, I've never seen a black shadow myself that could hurt you. But this black thing morphed into something else, which was very much like a skinwalker. And so I knew I would share that. So I just wanted to address that now. So yes,
Froze again.
Yeah. So I didn't know if anybody wanted to ask a question or.
Yes, we've got another question. We've
I'll
got
stop in between sharing.
excuse me. One from Space Cadet Lottie. Has Teri ever had to call to clear a place of worship of negative entities?
A call to clear a place of worship of negative entity. I wasn't called, but I did.
Right.
And this is going to sound very odd, okay? In my life, having been a Christian, I'm not your nominal Christian. I'm not like other Christians in a lot of ways. I don't have the theology, mentality, or a lot of what some religious affiliates have. I believe that we all come from the Lord, and we come here. We're here to evolve, to learn, to know, to find him, to understand what life is all about. And what they're teaching us actually isn't what it's all about. It is some of it, but not all of it. They teach a lot of the good and make it all look cushy and lovey and wonderful. And it is not all like that. It says in Ephesians 6:10, which we read, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and rulers in the heavenly places, spiritual wickedness. Well, they don't preach that too much. So, I have to say, I have been in places where I have left and I've shaken the dust right off of my feet, and almost without a doubt, within 6 months, all of those places have closed down. And that's a fact. That's happened 5 times on purpose, and once when I didn't mean it to happen. It closed down anyway. And because I left it and I saw things that shouldn't have been. And in each place I went and rebuked the pastor and said, this is not right. You should not be teaching these things. And they out of their churches. Or they asked me, never come back, please. Don't come back. You're not welcome here anymore. And I thought, isn't that funny? A place of the Lord and I'm not welcome. Okay. Yeah. And when I would leave, I would just say, Lord, I don't understand where that guy's coming from. Obviously, he's lost. He doesn't really know you. Just because somebody says they're a Christian does not mean they are. Christians have given the Lord such a bad name. Because... it's a personal relationship. It's not a religion. And if you don't have the personal relationship, then you don't know. And the odd thing is the scriptures say, without the personal relationship, you cannot know. So it boils down to that, so to answer his question, I have, but I wasn't called to do it by the pastors.
Right.
Thank you.
Right, next question is from Space Cadet again. She'd like to know, has Teri ever had an experience with an archangel? Have they ever stepped in to help?
Absolutely. I did have a very profound experience when I was pregnant with my son, Jason.
Yeah.
I had an angel come to me, and I was not a Christian time. I wasn't. I had an angel come to me and say to me, you will have a son. This was in 1973.
Yeah.
You will have a son, name him Jason. And I remember Dr. Smith just laughed and laughed when I said, oh, I'm going to have a son.
Yeah.
Oh, we seem to have lost something. Have we all frozen?
No, I'm still here.
Only just.
Are you?
I'm still here.
No, everything's good on my side. I'm not having.
I just keep having a coughing fit.
No issues. Teri keeps freezing.
Yeah. Maybe she'll be back shortly.
Yeah, I've just checked my internet. That's fine.
Everybody's saying they're having internet issues at the minute. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I've just upgraded, so I'm going to show off.
Well, yeah. Oh, she's gone.
Yeah, I've got the 1 gig from Virgin, and I'd be getting like 900 and odd megabytes download in 70 upload. So the upload's more important than the download for us, because obviously we're uploading onto YouTube. Oh, she needs to come back. We're going to get her back on anyway.
Yeah,
because this is so fascinating, and she's not hiding from the questions that people are asking.
No, it's good.
So, see, she's back. 1 second, and add.
Okay.
The return.
The return.
Right, let me just move us around a bit. Play a bit of musical pictures. Don't know. Sorry about that.
Okay. No, it's okay. So in answering that question, yes, I did have that angel come to me in the dream and say I was going to have a son, name him Jason. So I never even named him. He was named by the Lord. And Dr. Smith laughed at me because in 1973, we didn't have such things known as sonograms. We didn't have such things known as what you were going to have. You just would get pregnant and have a surprise, you know. And so my son,
Yeah.
I kept telling everyone at the clinic, at the hospital, my son's name is Jason, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they said, when I went into labor, they asked me if I wanted the shots to know everything. And I said, oh, no, I want a natural labor. I want to see that baby. I want to see Jason the minute he's born. And I was awake, wide awake, of course, screaming at the top of my lungs. And he came in an hour. And there he was. And and Dr. Smith said, oh, my God, it's a boy. And I said, no, it's Jason. And so 2 years later, I got pregnant again, and the same angel came to me and said, you'll have a son, name him Joshua. And I thought, okay. And Dr. Peter B. Kursker in Florida was my doctor then. And I told him the same thing I told Dr. Smith. And he said, well, Teri, let's see, you know, I'm not going to say that that's impossible, but let's see. And so, again, I didn't take any shots. I was wide awake. Joshua came in a half hour labor. Jason was an hour. Josh was a half hour. And there he was. And so, you know, people needed to know back then that God does work miracles. He does work in our lives through angelic messengers. It's biblical fact that they're with us. You know, we have angels with us all the time.
Yeah.
We just can't see them all the time. I have seen angels. They have been in my home. I have had them speak to me and give me direction. One came to me in 1980, I think it was one, and I became a missionary to Haiti for a short time because of that interaction. And, you know, angels are very real.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah.
No,
it's all the same as it was before. Nothing has changed since the time, you know, of the Lord being on the planet or before. It's all the same. We're all the same people. We're all the same people. You know, nothing has changed except our face and technology. But other than that,
yep, we're the same.
Yeah, it's just how we look at things now has changed.
Yeah, definitely.
Like
we are who we are. So, you know,
upgrade to technology and everything else.
Right.
Next question is from Rick. I don't know if you can hear us, Teri. I'll do it anyway.
Yeah, the gremlins are out tonight.
I know. I ain't got a clue what's going on. Probably because the football's been on. But that's what it is, you know.
Jinxed it all.
Yes. And no one won anyway, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, so Rick Allen wants to know, why would they help us to evolve? Who gives them the authority to interfere with our planet?
I think it means the extraterrestrials.
About what realm are we talking? Angelic, demonic, spiritual?
I think extraterrestrial.
No, I think that. Can't remember. It's gone.
Right.
Yeah, Rick, if you can let us know who you mean, that'd be great. We'll move on to this one from Chris, aka Eric Van Essex.
Yes.
So Chris would like to know, is it possible to let demons in via the pineal gland, third eye? Have you ever come across this?
Mm-hmm. The pineal gland absolutely need to be opened for us to see the spiritual realms and to interact. We can let things in via meditations, and yes, I've seen that. I know a friend who do meditations. And the next thing I know, her personality was changing. She began to be very different, very harsh, very negative. And I thought, gee, you know, I thought all that stuff was supposed to be helping you, you know, and it wasn't. It was actually
No.
changing her quite a
Oh.
You know, yeah.
Sorry, it just keeps freezing. So we're getting a lot, then nothing. And then it's like, it's going really fast.
Atmospherics.
Yes.
Yeah, atmospheric. Yeah, we're talking about heavy things, and that is a very real possibility.
Yeah.
Especially
definitely.
when you start talking about angels every time.
Yeah. Right. We'll just wait for Rick to get back on that one. Dad, do you want to do the next question?
Yeah.
Please?
The next one's actually from Rick, and it's
That was it.
Terry, what type of energy do you think the demons use to take form? Demons are not spirits, so what kind of energy?
They are used.
Oh, gone again?
Nothing.
No, I think I'll have to get the big hammer out.
Yes. You can't go hitting the viewers in the chat.
Well, let me.
Oh, go on then, as it's nearly Christmas.
Yeah,
There we go.
All right, we're back.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you want to go and then come back, Terry? That might help.
Yeah, see if you go off and then log back in.
If you turned it on and turn it off and turn it back
Turn it
on.
on again.
Right. So if you come out the chat and then re-log in on the link that I sent you.
Okay,
let me try that. Sorry about all this, everybody. But it happens now and again.
Yeah, it does. Sadly.
I know. It's annoying. Right, so
it'd be nice if my sinuses weren't hurting.
Right. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
So she's gone, but come back.
Right.
Oh, Deb, what's going on? What's she done?
Don't ask me.
Has Joe broke the internet?
I may have all the answers normally, but tonight I don't.
You need to have an answer.
Okay. The
Right,
answer would be yes.
Let me try something. Right, there we go.
Right.
Please say it's working.
Are we back? No, I don't think we are.
Could you do a voice and just pretend she's talking?
I could do, yeah. But it wouldn't be right, would it? Because I don't know what she knows.
No. I don't know what's going on.
I don't either. It's the tinterweb.
There's
something going on in the world we're not privy to.
No. See, mine's fine.
Yeah, mine's okay. But we are beaming in from America.
We never normally have these issues.
No, we don't. No, we don't, actually.
But yeah, like I put in the chat, it's like, I think it's whatever you believe in works.
Yeah, I do.
Whatever your belief is.
It's the intent that's behind it that works, I think.
Like someone said, I think it was Jimbo, he said, whatever your belief is, if it's strong enough, it will work.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Yes.
If you believe in something so much, I suppose it's like the way people manifest stuff. If you believe it or want it to happen so bad, and you put enough energy into it, then something's got to come out of it.
Yeah, of course
it can't just still be nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
So, right.
Well,
Sorry about this one.
Obviously, it's 5 to the 2 hours. So whatever questions we've got left, next time Terry's on, we can save them for then and ask her
Right.
then.
Oh, can you? My phone's on charge.
Right, hang
Can
on.
you take a picture?
I can
Sorry.
take a picture.
Behind my lovely room splitter.
Oh, look, oh, that's me. I don't want to take a picture of me, thank you. Right, taking a picture. Is that it?
Yeah, just these seven
Okay.
questions.
Yes.
Pretty much Rick Allen.
Pretty much, Rick.
He's Rick, Ruby, and Lawson.
Right, I've got
I'm gutted because I wanted to. Right, I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
If you can. So, this is from Lawson. He'd like to know, do you believe in time travelers?
I do.
And if so, why? I'm going to add that bit on.
There have, obviously, there's pictures all over the internet of people who've kind of appeared where they shouldn't have been, or people walking about with mobile phones in Victorian times.
Yeah.
And I
like
don't
that one, like that woman in that Charlie Chaplin movie. She comes out of the cinema.
She's got a phone.
You can clearly see it's a flip phone and it's got the aerial sticking up.
Yeah.
Now, people have said that that was some type of like prototype ear trumpet, but you can see she's not talking to anyone else.
No.
She's kind of like on her own, and she's having a conversation to whoever's on the other end of the yogurt carton.
Yeah, exactly. Or the tin can.
Yeah. So who is she talking to?
Exactly.
Where would that signal come from?
Yeah.
If you're going back to like what, that'd be what, late 1800s, maybe.
Oh, no, 1920s silent films, wasn't it? 1920.
Yeah, but
Ow.
Charlie Chaplin was what, late 1800s, early thousands, because there's him, Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, all them type of people. It's all around the same time. So where would the signal come from for that person to be talking to somebody else?
Exactly. I have no idea how time travel would work, but it's obviously some kind of bilocation type thing.
Yeah.
But yes, I do believe that somehow it can work. I just don't know how it can work.
No. Like that email I got. That was strange.
What email? You've been signing up for stuff again, have you?
No, someone, I don't, it's a message. I think it's on Messenger. Somebody asked me. I'm not going to say the name because they were being genuine.
Right.
They wanted to know if I knew how time travel worked because they'd had a pretty crap life and they wanted to go back and change the past.
Right, okay.
And would I be up for it, kind of thing? So
yeah, just climb into this box.
I'm like, I'd love to know, but I'm reading. I was parked up, but I'm reading this while driving around in a big white van.
Yeah.
If I knew how that worked, I wouldn't be driving this van. I'd have done my deliveries 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd be well up in front.
Not still doing it now. So yeah, but that was the oddest message I've ever had, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I've had some odd messages.
I've had some odd messages, but not quite that odd.
No. But the fact that you wanted to go back and change the past.
Yeah.
I want to go back and change past events to make it better.
I don't
who
think
do you want to get rid of? That's what I read.
Yeah.
But it was. I was like, who you binning off?
Yeah. To make your life better.
Yeah. So anyway, Deborah,
yes.
Another question for you.
We didn't do creepy fact of the week this week either, did mind your
police? Another press the wrong video then. Deborah, question.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
No idea at all. Hello? Now, on Wednesday, we have Costa Macraeus.
No, we
don't.
We
only have him for an out, eh?
We not got anything Wednesday.
We have.
It's my day.
Hey?
We've not got anyone Wednesday. It's St Andrew's Day. Like I'm going to work on my official day.
But it's not your day, is it? It
Well-
is an Andrew Booth day.
Not St. Andrew Booth.
And besides, you don't like being called Andrew.
And I'm not Scottish.
No, there is that.
Who's on Friday, Deborah?
Friday will be the 2nd of December. Will it? Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
And on the 2nd of December, we have Costa Macraeus.
Yay. I need to message him actually to double check that he's coming. I meant to do it today, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Never had a really few day.
Mm.
Yeah, no, after I spoke to you this morning, downhill.
Right from there.
Yeah.
I have that effect on people.
It was just, it's just one thing after another. I was just ready for like sacking it all off and going home.
I spent the afternoon arguing with someone on the live chat at Pharmacy to You.
Nice. Joe's just put Wednesday. I won't be modding. Don't forget. It's all right because we've no one on.
Won't miss you anyway.
Be chatting cheese.
Yeah.
It'll be like a normal night. Sorry, Joe. I think is it Pick on Joe night tonight?
Yeah. Well, she's not going to be here. We've got to get it all in.
Oh yeah, but yeah. Get her all cheered up for the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, she's having a jaw wired on soup for 6 months.
Yeah.
Not bad for an ingrowing toenail, is it?
No, it's not actually.
But no, we haven't got anyone Wednesday. I might do.
No, you're not doing anything.
No, I did that. I had that telephone conversation yesterday.
Yeah.
What Deb passed to me, Highgate Cemetery.
Yeah.
So I spoke to Lawson.
Yes.
I don't know if he's still in the chat. He's happy for me to use his name and tell his story.
Yes.
So I was just going to talk about that. So he's the guy that's seen a big black wolf-like creature. Maybe one, maybe two.
Possibly two.
Yeah. Tomorrow morning, I'm chatting to another guy who had an encounter at Highgate with the Hat Man.
Ooh.
I'm not chatting to the Hat Man. That'd be great. Yeah, I've got the Hat Man's number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to be chatting to
You think it
the
sounds
guy.
like hello?
Yeah. I think it'd be deeper than that.
Possibly. I can't go deeper than that.
I can go higher.
I could have done it beginning of week.
Yeah, so I'm chatting to the guy who had an encounter with the Hat Man at Highgate Cemetery. You try saying that dead quick.
A guy who had an encounter with the Hat Man at Highgate Cemetery.
Yeah, you struggled.
It's you that can't speak.
We know that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so I'm chatting to him tomorrow. I've not told you this, I don't think, going to Highgate around March, just as we're going back into spring. Yeah. I'm going to meet up with Lawrence. We're going to talk through and walk around. He's going to show me the areas where he had his encounter. So we'll just go from there.
Perfect.
And we have Teri back.
She's back.
Of a fashion.
Yeah.
That is funny. I don't know what happened.
No,
it's just everyone's having issues tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just you.
No. Oh, there I am.
Well, I've taken a photograph of all the questions we've got left, and then next time you're on,
that's if you want to come back on.
Well, yeah, if you want to come back on, yes.
Of course, I love to. Yeah. There's so many things to share. I mean, I go on for hours.
No, that's fine for us.
That's fine. Yeah, it's better for us if you do.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what I'll do, I've got you here. I'm friends with you on Facebook anyway, aren't I? What I will do, Teri, I'll need to go through the diary and see what dates we've got available. Quite possibly would be a Wednesday. Even though we're trying to not do Wednesdays.
Yes, we are trying to not do Wednesdays.
I know, but I don't want to leave it too long because we're kind of like halfway through this, aren't we?
Yeah.
So I know when we can. Yeah, I
She's
won't
got
say
to
on
go.
it. Yeah, I'll message you if you can hear me. I'll send you a message on Facebook with the date that I'm thinking of, and then just let me know whether you can or can't.
She's gone again.
She has.
Oh, well.
Yes, playing games.
Yes. Anyway.
I'm just reading the chat.
Yeah, no.
It's like I don't freeze. I'm just reading.
Right. You just freeze yourself.
Yeah. So we have these 6 questions. I think Rick's gone, so message him and find out what he meant by who help us to evolve. Deb, have you got any updates on anything?
Not at all. Apart
Nothing.
from I'm better than I was at the beginning. Well, last weekend at the beginning of the week.
Yes.
Apart from the odd cough.
Yeah.
But other than that,
it's all good.
Yeah.
Should we?
Sorry.
Oh no, go on.
I did have a bit of a strange anomaly the other night.
Was this the little?
What?
The corner of your pillow?
No, not that.
Oh.
No, the telly one. I took a
The
photo.
photograph.
I took a photo. I was talking to my mate, and I took a photo of the window, but it got the telly in.
You haven't got any mates?
No, I've only got one.
Oh.
Anyway.
But Bob the cat doesn't count as a friend.
Well, he wanted to see the picture. Anyway.
I
took a photo of the window and got the telly in. And when I looked at the telly, I realised that on the screen, there was just 2 people. But on the picture that I took, there was somebody in the middle. Now
you want to put the photo on?
Oh, I haven't got time now.
Oh, I can get it.
Can you? I sent you the... Did
you send it me on Messenger?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I only sent you the one that I'd zoomed in and circled, though. I didn't send you the original.
Yeah, that's fine. That's the video for Chris, isn't it?
Quite freaky.
Right, let me save to downloads. Right, that's there.
Yes.
Can we tell them something about February?
No.
Just one little thing.
No, it's a special. That's all we can tell.
Can we tell them who's going to be joining us?
No.
Yeah, you miserable.
It's a special with a special guest.
Yes, we know. Right, so this is the picture.
Yeah, on that screen, there's 2 blokes walking along and talking in the dark. There's nobody else on the screen. And that appeared on the screen. I could do with making it bigger, but you can't, can you?
No.
But it looks like somebody with parted dark hair and a nut. You can see the nut. Oh, hello.
Oh, sorry. Put it back on. I'm just going to see if you can get it on.
You can see the nose and the eyes.
Share.
I have no explanation at all.
No, it's very odd. But he's got a 1990s Curtains haircut.
Yeah, no.
He's probably going raving.
Yeah. But this follows the other night. Bob was in the kitchen eating.
Yeah.
And he suddenly ran in with his belly really low to the ground and he was looking backwards and up like somebody had chased him out of the kitchen. And this was kind of, I think it was in the night after or the night after that this appeared on the telly. And I'm like, is this connected to that? I don't know. I have no idea.
I think I've seen a UFO this morning.
Yeah.
I've just remembered.
Oh.
So I'm travelling, I'll just tell you how quickly, I'm travelling eastbound on the A45 and there's a bright light in the sky. So I was going, is it 45? Yeah, 45 going up to the A14. And it's travelling with me. So it's all fields and rural areas and it's like little, won't even call them villages.
Yeah.
And there's a really big bright light. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just one bright white light, and it's just going along, traveling at the same speed as me. There's no clouds, so that clear sky. And then for about 2 miles, the light just dims down, and I see like a blue, like a pale blue metallic object.
Yeah.
Like this colour blue. I'll show you on this pen. Is like that colour?
Right, yeah.
It wasn't quite sky colour. And then it just like faded, and then this object vanished. But it wasn't a plane, because if it had been a plane and it changed direction, I'd have seen the wing lights. You have a red and white one that constantly flashing while they're up in the air. None of that. Nothing. There's another plane higher up. You could see the vapor trail on it. You could even, like when they're at pretty much maximum height, and even then you can see the lights flashing on them. There's nothing. That's like very strange. So I don't know what that was. Could have. It wasn't something burning. I know that the light was too. It's like a spotlight. Had been thrown up and was being dragged across the sky. That's what it looked like.
Freaky.
That's it. Back to your mail. So just thought I'd give you that one.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I don't know if it was a UFO.
Could have been anything.
Yeah, but it was definitely light, wasn't heavy.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, so that is it. So we have Costa Macrius coming on next Friday. We have nothing on Wednesday.
Nope.
Thank you everyone for coming in the chat. Sorry we lost Teri.
Yes.
Definitely be getting her back on.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you to all the new subs and viewers.
Thanks for all the questions.
For your input.
Yes.
Our Christmas special is on the 23rd of December, which is only that for 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. Yeah, so this month's a bit messed up. So we've got next week is Costa. So we've nothing this Wednesday. Then we've got nothing next Wednesday. Then we've got Costa. Nothing the following Wednesday, and nothing the following Friday. So far we've got Costa on the 2nd. I think, fingers crossed, might be wrong. Dan Baldwin and George Sewell.
Yeah. Yes.
Then he's not been in the chat tonight, but he might be sat in the background. I don't know. Ryan Mee is going to be coming on. Yes, that's his real name.
Yep.
Not Ryan.
I'm Ryan.
Yeah, so Ryan's coming on then. Then on the 23rd is our Christmas special with the wonderful, the both amazing
George Mitrovich
and Earl Grey Anderson.
Yes.
I have the intro ready, and just a bit of a spoiler. Earl has said he will make the Christmas outro.
Yay!
So he's going to do a little jingle for us. Andrew Johnson.
I've heard of that name. I need to
He sent me a friend request 2 days ago.
All right, if it's the same one.
If it's the same one, it is. He's like 200 odd mutual friends, so I'm guessing it most probably is. So then 23rd Christmas special, and then nothing until the 6th of January.
Yes.
So you are going to have to keep checking on YouTube for when we're on. I'll go on the website. Go on the website.
Yes. Get on the website.
The 12thdimension.co.uk, all lowercase, all letters, no numbers.
Yes. No numbers.
Joe is good enough. She'll write out for us now, dead quick. Go.
Yeah, she might do. There's another one from Ruby.
Isn't that one of Joe's acronyms?
That's a question from Andy. I think.
Yeah, but she won't go. Sorry. Just in case she's watching. Don't resist. You made me say that, Deb. Idiot.
Blame me.
Yes. All right, I'll blame myself.
Oh dear. Anyway.
Yeah, so we're going to go, and on that note, I'll never be seen again.
Oh dear. I need to go because I need a right good coffee fit now.
Yeah. Right. So see you next Friday.
You will.
I am going to put a little video out from what Lawson sent me. I might just do like what you do on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh
yes. Join me on Sunday on my channel.
Yeah.
4 p.m. in the afternoon, GMT. Missing people. Be there or be square.
Yeah. So not funny.
What?
Joe, but you're not funny.
We know you're not funny, Joe.
Oh, you. That was aimed at you.
She knows I'm funny.
Oh, funny in head.
Cheers, Joe.
Yay. I'm glad you've put our website up.
I'm more important.
Yeah, no, she did. I didn't see it. It's only showing me on one screen. Right. So have a great weekend.
Yeah.
And we will see you a week today.
Yeah.
Enjoy the football for what it's worth.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Good luck and see you later.
See you later, folks.
Hurrah.